Hello and welcome to a brand new series we're going to do in Cities Skylines 2. This game is just released as of the time of recording, so very excited to get right into this and see what this game has to offer. So to start off, we have just a single road connection and a single power connection here. So what we'll do is extend this road. I believe this is the same road. We'll just extend this pretty good way down into this little island that we're building on. And let's add in a roundabout somewhere along this way. I think we'll place one down right about here, and then we can begin to build off and use this as our base for the city. So let's get started by dragging out a small road a fair distance. Actually, let's try to use the grid tool, and we'll bring it out about 300 yards. I'd say that's about a good distance. And then we'll drag this over and get a decently good sized grid to start out with. And we can see that worked out pretty well for most areas. So we'll start filling these in with some low density housing. Alright, so I just had to rebuild this real quick just because our road wasn't coming off perfectly straight from the highway connection here. So we'll just come back and re-add this roundabout right where it connects off into the highway. So now that we've started with that, we can then come the other way. I think we'll just come straight off of the roundabout here, and this area will then be our industrial area and where all of our power and water will come from. So first, let's get some power up and running. So we'll place this power plant right along there, and we can just click from the power plant to the existing power lines, and that should allow us to, I believe that should allow us to export electricity once we are making enough. So now we can see we now have to deal with water and sewage next, so let's get a water pumping station placed somewhere over here. I think we'll place that right about here, and then we'll just get a sewage outlet farther downstream. And then we'll just have to connect up the sewage with a little sewage pipe. And then for our water pump, we need to connect it by road. So we'll just bring this out and over. And I believe we should now have water and sewage flowing through our city. So next, just to fill out these demands here, let's plop down some industry next to our power plant, and we'll throw down some commercial right along our main street here. And then of course we'll get rid of the zoning along this road, because we don't want it facing the road that heads into our industry. So we'll keep it on this main road here. And now all we have to do is let this build up, so we can finally begin to see some people moving into our city as the cars start to flood in from the highway. They're all going to go to their own individual house over in this area and I guess officially move in to our city. And with that, our commercial has already filled in and our industrial area is pretty much completely filled up as well. So there's not too much to do right now at the moment, although as I say that, we did just unlock the next milestone, which opens up a good part of the game for us. So if we click the progression panel, we can see we unlock a good amount of stuff. We unlock healthcare and death care, as well as garbage management. So these are things that we can now add into our city, as well as receiving a development point. And I don't think there's too much we can spend with one development point, although I think we might go for the crematorium right away, just in case if we start to have people die already. We don't want that getting all filled up and becoming a mess early on. So first, let's expand our industry area so we can get some garbage going through here. So we'll drag this out closer to the water, and then we can extend out another road this way, where we can then just fill in the grid to allow for much more stuff to grow in here. But now that we have all this space, we can now add in a landfill. So we'll place that in, and now we have to place the area that will sort of collect all of the trash and garbage that's collected in our city. So we'll have the landfill sort of follow the edge of the river here, and then we can bring it right down to the street, have it plop in like that. So that completes that loop, but hopefully there should be a way we can continue to expand this. So we'll expand it out just a little bit more. I actually think I want to keep this line where the road is. So we'll pull this out to be perfectly 90 degrees so we can extend our road right alongside it. And I think a landfill of this size will serve our city just fine for at least a little bit while it continues to grow. So then we'll fill in the rest of this area with industrial zoning, and then we can get into expanding our residential area out this way, as well as adding some of our healthcare and death care services. I think we'll start out pretty easy by just extending this grid even farther out, although I'm not liking what it was giving us there. So we'll just extend out like this, and that shouldn't give us too many issues with terrain. If we look here, it's not terribly hilly just yet. I believe this island's pretty much mostly flat, so we shouldn't deal with many terrain issues for the beginning portion of this. So then we can now just come in and fill in all of these zones with some more residential. And we can see here we've unlocked medium density row housing, and I think we might start to incorporate that on these blocks all the way up here. So we'll fill in these squares right along our main road with some row houses. And now while we wait for this area to fill in, let's place some of our healthcare and death care services. So we'll get a medical clinic plopped in right close to the main road. Doesn't seem like it'll fit within this grid that we have, so we'll just place it there. And then for our death care, let's get one cemetery in right next to the highway over here, and then a crematorium plopped right next to it. So as we see our row homes fill in here, we're very close to leveling up, which we get right now. So now we are officially a small village by terms of the game, and that unlocks even more stuff for us. That includes medium density housing, education and research, and that pretty much seems to be it for this milestone. But more importantly, we've unlocked even more development points, so we can begin to think about specializations that we want to go into, especially with our roads, as there's a lot of things to unlock here with large roads and highways. So I think we'll just actually grab roundabouts and advanced road services, since they both cost 1 development point. So next time around, we could think about maybe grabbing larger roads to upgrade this main road, as this seems to be the only access point into our city for at least a little while until we purchase more land and can afford to build a large bridge like this. So we can see, after letting our city build up for a little bit, our commercial and industrial demand are almost entirely maxed out, so let's maybe build some commercial along this road, and we'll have a little block of commercial in this area once we begin to build it out. But hopefully this little strip along this road should satisfy the demand momentarily. So as we wait for our city to continue growing, we can just sort of sit here and enjoy the beautiful scenery that this game has to offer. You can see there's the auroras in the night sky and all the lights from the city sort of glowing. I think this game looks pretty amazing, even though it does have its frame rate issues every now and then. So as we sit here and wait for the sun to rise, we can look at one of our row home streets and just see the kind of detail that they have. I think one thing this game does well is its sense of scale. These buildings look amazing, the cars and the street details look really nice, and if you look off into the distance in our city, you get a really good sense of scale for how large some of these buildings are, especially the power plant. Even though it's sort of right behind this building, it's still massive, and you can really tell that even when you zoom away and look at the city more from a distance. So now let's get into our education, and let's try to place down an elementary school somewhere. And I think we'll place that down right about here, since there's not much we can really do to fill in this space by the river. So we'll put that there, and then this patch of land over here seems like a pretty good spot to place down a high school. So we'll line up the entrance right along with this road, and we can see right here, this is what our high school looks like at the moment. Now there are some upgrades that we can add, but I don't think our city is really big enough to warrant any of these yet. And as we're talking about that, we are now a large village, so that's now milestone 3. So this unlocks a little bit more. We have police, fire rescue, we have some livestock farming and stone mining, so that's some of the specialized industries that the game has to offer. So with that milestone, we now have even more development points, and I'd like to go into the fire services and right away unlock this firefighting helicopter depot, as if any of our forests around the city just so happen to catch on fire, we won't be able to put them out. So for instance, if this forest catches on fire, pretty much the entire thing will burn down, since we don't have helicopters or anything else to put that fire out. And if it reaches our city, our fire trucks won't do anything until it actually reaches the buildings or a building that's next to a road. So with that, I want to leave this area for some of the high school upgrades. I think we could maybe fit the sports field in here. Looks like it might be close. We'll deal with that when we get to actually upgrading it. I think all we will need to do is just move the crematorium. But let's get fire and police placed down. And so I think we'll get a small firehouse just plopped right on that corner. And we'll place some of these fire watchtowers. we'll get one over here, and then another one over on this island. And then we'll place down a firefighter helicopter depot right over here next to our power plant. And it appears our fire watch towers need electricity, so that's something different between this game and Cities Skylines 1. So let's just figure out how we're going to get power all the way out there. So I think in order to do this, we'll need to get a transformer station so we can get some of these smaller electric cable connections. I'm not exactly sure how to do this, because it doesn't seem like the electric cables are snapping to anything. Okay, so I figured out the power thing. All we have to do is come here, grab an electric cable, click on our Firewatch tower, and then we can just go underground pretty much straight away, and then just drag that over to connect with our nearest connection. So now all of our fire services are connected up to power. Let's get some police placed, but we are out of money. So let's come in here and figure out our budget. So first, I think we'll raise the tax rate to about 13% all around. We'll see what that gets us. We might just need to get a loan real quick and zone a bunch of residential. So we'll quickly just get 100,000 and pause here real quick. And then let's just extend out this grid even more. So if we can get this to snap to this road. There we go. And then just come out like that. We should be able to then zone this in pretty easily, although it seems to be having issues. Not too sure why it's not just extending the current grid. Oh well, we can just manually do this with our straight roads. We'll just come in here and do this. So that should line up pretty well. Alright, so we've extended out this grid. We've made the grid size a little bit bigger than what we had over here. It's a little weird because I think somewhere along the way our grid got slightly slanted or something happened, so we're getting this gap right here in the zoning. But I don't think that'll cause too many issues, as it's a pretty small gap. And when we put in these cross streets, there's a little gap on each of those, so that means pretty much every building is going to be facing one of the roads that are going this way instead of the roads going this way. So I'm fine with that. I don't foresee that causing many issues. But what we can now do is zone in all of this as commercial to satisfy our commercial demand. And then I think we're going to fill in the rest of these with some medium density housing, since we have a pretty big demand for that. So we'll just let that play out, and we'll let this fill in, and hopefully that fixes our money issue. And right away we can see we have quite a big deficit to make up. So let's just come into our city services here, and let's reduce some of the largest ones for now. So fire and rescue, by far our largest one. Next, with healthcare and death care, we'll just lower that to about 80%. And let's give this a little bit and see how that shakes up. So while we're waiting for our budget to balance out, we unlocked milestone 4, which pretty much unlocks the rest of our things that we need. So we get a lot more things unlocked down here. We can see all this stuff we unlock. We now have transportation. That's a pretty big one. Parks and recreation. And all these things that come with that. We get a pretty good amount of money as well, so we can definitely use that to hopefully turn our deficit around. And we have 4 development points now. So looking through our development tree, there's not really anything that I immediately want to grab, so I think we'll hold on to these until we want to use them later. But now we have this new demand bar over here, which is offices. So I think somewhere over in this area we'll begin to zone in offices. And I think we might just clear out this block for now, since it's not really filling in to begin with. And we'll just put in a bunch of low density offices. So now we can see we have tons of people flooding over this area to move into their new medium density housing, and offices filling in over here. And while we have the money, let's get back to placing down a police station, which we'll probably just put right over here on this road, pretty much right across from the fire station. And now let's try to fill in this industrial area just a bit more. So we have all this space here behind our commercial area. Let's just bring in a second road across like so, and we can actually connect up to our main road again, just so we don't have a single entrance coming in and out of our whole industrial area, since we're about to expand it by a pretty good amount. We can place that in, and I think we can now just fill in all of this area with some more industrial. Of course, we don't want this anywhere near our residential area, so we'll just dezone everything on this main road. So now that we have a little bit of a base set up for our city, I want to begin to break down this grid and start working with a little bit more free-form shapes, especially since we have a ton of low-density residential demand. I think we could create a little bit more of like a suburbs area over here along this side of the island. And we can see here we have 18 map tiles that we can purchase. So let's just go in and grab a couple of these to buy. And they're all pretty cheap. This won't cost too much to buy a good amount of these. So I think this is a pretty good expansion from what we currently have. So we'll purchase that. And it looks like we might need to purchase this one just so we can get that tiny little bit of land. So we'll do that as well. And now we can begin to break down this grid. If we grab some roads here, a small road, we'll bring it out straight for a little bit. And then we'll grab this continuous road tool. And I think we'll just follow the edge of the river or the island for a little bit. Provide some nice riverside properties. We just keep following along like this. I think this is pretty far out enough for now. So what we can do is then somewhere over here we'll break this off, and then this will sort of define where this area is and the grid once we expand it more. So we'll just bring this around, sort of make it all flowy, and then wrap around like this. So then we'll just continue to follow the edge and then we can connect right back up to our street from before. Alright, so here we go. Hopefully in some of these tighter curves the zoning doesn't get too messed up, but now we'll just fill in this area with some windy roads and cul-de-sacs, and then we can zone this entire area with low density residential to hopefully empty out that bar. Alright, so as I was building out that area, we've reached milestone 5, and I'm not too sure what we unlock here, although it looks like we unlock communications, which I suppose the citizens will now begin to demand some more farming and mining options, as well as I believe these are district policies. Not too sure. I guess we'll see when we set up our first district. And some more zoning types. So now we've built out this whole area, made it very windy, added some cul-de-sacs using the roundabout tool, although it stinks we can't get zoning on the ends of these streets, but I think this area looks pretty nice. It looks a little dense, so I might come in here and break up some of these larger zoned blocks, but we're just going to keep moving for now. That might just be something I do in between videos. I think this looks quite nice. The houses don't really necessarily match the style I was going for, but I think it feels similar to how I want it. Nice and low density, right along the sort of inner side of the island that faces the mainland. And of course we still have some areas that need filled out, but for a large part we got rid of a lot of our low density demand. Uh-oh. While we were waiting for daytime to come, we got this notification of a forest fire breaking out. This is pretty far out of where our city is. So hopefully it either goes out by itself, or maybe the fire trucks or the fire helicopters will deal with it. So we'll just let that go and hope that it doesn't become an issue. But anyway, now that it's daytime and we can see a little bit more of the map, I want to tackle our industrial demand sort of as the last thing we do in this episode. So if we look here at our zoning, and I think I want to start with a farming industry, we can see we do have some fertile land right around here. So I think I want to connect our industrial road here with this little dirt road that was already placed on this map and get a farm going in this area. And hopefully this will help us offset our budget, as we should be able to export some of those goods. So let's just come through, and we might just keep this as a dirt road for now. We'll turn on our contour lines, because we might have to drag that back a bit. So we'll come straight off of the road, work our way down here, and then we'll just keep following right along this sort of top contour line, and then connect up to the end of this road. Hopefully we can get right into the middle of it. And there we go. So now we have our dirt road connecting this area. We can come into our industry and place this chicken farm. Actually, let's see if maybe let's start with chicken, because that was the first thing we sort of had when we first started this city. So we'll just follow around the highlighted area to create our zone. It looks like we might have to just follow the road a little bit, but we can do that, and we now have our chicken farm set up. We're gonna drag out this side of it as much as we can, to get as big of an area as possible. Of course, we'll connect it up to the road and follow the road here. The circle it gave us is fairly large, so hopefully this farm will produce a ton of goods for us to export. So we can get it right along the edge of the circle there, and then work it back out to the outer side of this highlighted area. And I think we'll leave it as this. I think this field will slowly populate with farm buildings, as we can already see here. I wish there was a little bit more of a logic to where these get placed, or even giving us the ability to place them down. But hopefully if we give this some time, it'll settle on something that looks decent. But if we look here, we can see it has 25 out of 25 employees, 107% efficiency. It's level 1. And I wish we could see exactly how much it's producing or how much we're getting from that, but I guess we have to come in here. And we can see that we are producing about 27 tons a month, and I guess this deficit is how much we're using, or how much we need, or how much more we need. I'm not too sure, but I guess if we were making extra, we'd see a surplus in here. But hopefully that'll help to offset our budget, as we're almost about even here. I think once we unlock high density, which is really what we're stuck on right now, we have tons of high density residential demand, but if we come in here, we don't have that unlocked. We have this low rent housing, which I suppose we could just plop some of that in next to our offices out here. That's a pretty temporary solution for that, but we can see that almost instantly drains our high density residential demand. We have a bunch of our just commercial areas saying there's not enough customers, so hopefully that'll fill out a lot of these issues that they're having. But for now, I think that's pretty much going to be it for this video. I wanted to get this little block of buildings down just to be sort of a base and get us to the point where we have pretty much everything unlocked. And then from this point forward, we can really get into being creative and doing what we want. And once we sort out our budget, we can pretty much just do whatever we can think of. But I think this area proves as a solid base. It won't stay like this for long, as I hope to expand farther on down the island, get some higher density more out towards this empty area, and just continue to make a really good looking city. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about this new series. I'm really looking forward to playing this game and getting into it. But if you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.